Hello everyone, welcome to the lab 4 of ECE 573 Advanced Embedded Logic Design. We'll continue our discussion on the matrix multiplication. In the part 3 of our lab 3, we improved the performance of the matrix multiplication by using the local memories and by partitioning the local memories so that we can have parallel access to the multiple elements of A and parallel access to the multiple elements of B. Basically, we wanted to have the parallel access to all the elements of a single row of A and all the elements of a single column of B. So we have achieved the significant improvement in performance, and one of the bug in the previous code is that when we are doing the floating point arithmetic, make sure you can modify the codes to get the move from the floating to integer. So what are the things you need to do? Similar to homework, you need to change all the integers to the all the floating variables to the integer. Make sure that in init array you initialize them with the integer and not with the using the random one, because in integer there is no uh, fractional units. All the values are the proper integer. And also make sure that this result variable, which is float in the float point implementation, is changed to the result. Okay, so this is the first change you need to do. You need to change the part 3 of the lab 3 from floating to the integer and verify the performance. And when you will see the complexity and latency time, you can see that you will get some improvement in the your performance, but you will get significant improvement in your resource utilization. As we know that the integer point arithmetic is much simpler than the floating point arithmetic, you can see that the number of resources are required are significantly reduced. But at the same time, the number of block RAMs are remaining the same. Why? Because floating point is 32-bit number. Integer here we are considering also 32-bit number. So in terms of the storage, there is no improvement, but in terms of the arithmetic, it's a significant improvement in the utilization of the resources. Then I hope by now you know how to find out the total latency number from this each loop latency. It is basically sum of the all the loops, and there will be some overlap because of the iteration latency. Okay, so that you should be able to find out the link between this number and the final latency number. Okay, so what is the conclusion of the first part is that we changed part 3 of the lab 3 from floating to integer, and we got the somewhat some saving in the latency and significant saving in the resources. Okay, so another question is, like in integer, in the processors your integers values are always multiple of 8. So you can have the 8-bit integer, 16-bit integer, 32-bit integer, and so on. But you don't have 12-bit integer, 15-bit integer. So even in your application you need only 12-bit integer, you have to either compromise on accuracy and implement it as a 8-bit integer, or you need to implement it as a 16-bit integer, leading to the significant uh, uh, a larger execution time. But on the other hand, in the FPGA, there is no such constraint. You can implement your arithmetic for any integer variable. And how to do that? You need to use this .h file, ap int .h file, and then what you need to do when for the function which you want to implement on the hardware. So here you can see that I'm still defining them as an integer, but inside the function I am defining the local variable as a ap int of 18 bits. So this 18 indicate the number of bits of the integer. So here I am defining a and b as 18 bits, and the actual out was a 22 bits. So what I am doing, I am taking input a in as a 32 bit, but while storing it, I am using only the 18 bits of that, so that my all the arithmetic will happen on this one, and that can be much simpler. Okay, there is also way to tell the to tell the SDSOC tool that this should be the instead of 32-bit integer, there should be the 18-bit integer or 20-bit integer. That we'll see it in the future lab whenever we need it. Right now, fortunately, since we are using the local variables, I'm making the local variables as 18-bit variable so that I can get the significant saving in the performance. So significant saving in the resources. Make sure you modify this line also. Whenever you modify the other variable, this result variable, you make sure that you modify it to the AP int. Okay, so this is the one change you need to do when you move from the 32-bit integer to any fixed width integer. Okay, we are considering fixed width integer. You need to use the appropriate .h file. There won't be any changes in the .h file. Okay, there won't be in case of the main.cpp. There will be a small changes needed in the in your init array function, and make sure that you don't use this rand variable, because we are talking about the integer. Our customer has told that my inputs and outputs are all integers, so we don't need to generate the fractional numbers here. Okay, so that is the one thing you need to take care. And while the hardware software code, the golden reference will still work at the integer, that is 32-bit, because processor has the 32-bit integer. You can't change the integer size in the processor implementation. So here my processor implementation is working on the 32-bit number, while my hardware is arithmetic is working on the 18-bit number. Okay, and as per the customer requirement, customer has told us that my hardware 18-bit or 22-bit is sufficient. Okay, how to choose those values depends upon the what customer has provided you. Okay, based upon that you need to choose the appropriate values. And you can see that it works fine. You can open the Vivado block diagram, and you will see that the corresponding IP has been created, and it has been created for the desired word length we have been selected. So when you will look at the HLS result, you can see that in terms of the latency, you are not going to get the significant improvement, because the arithmetic operation for the 18-bit or 22-bit is almost same as the 32-bit. When you will go to say less than 16-bit, you will get the significant improvement in latency also. But what I would like to highlight is the further savings into the resources. So when we go for from the floating point to integer, 32-bit integer, we got a huge saving. And when we go from the 32-bit integer to the 18 or 22-bit integer, we got a significant saving, not only in the memory. Okay, you can see significant saving in the memory, but also in the number of DSP unit. Okay, so you can see that there is a significant saving has happened, and this DSP48 is performing the multiplication as well as addition operation. So it is performing the map operation, both the operations together, because of the smaller word length. Okay, so this is the advantage of using the appropriate word length. So whenever you implement something on the hardware, you need to understand what is your customer requirement, what is the range of your inputs one, and based upon that you need to find out what is the range of your output, and then you should choose your word length accurately. If you don't choose the word length accurately, then either you will lose your performance in terms of the accuracy, or you will end up using the more resources. Okay, so identifying the word length is very important, and it's very basic thing. So for example, if my input ranges are between 1 to 2K, then all those inputs can be represented by using the 11 bits, because 11 bits I can go from 0 to 2047, so I can represent all the numbers. Okay, so make sure that you understand your input range, and based upon that you choose your word length appropriately. So this completes our second part of the lab, where I change from the integer to the fixed width integer. Now third part of the lab. Now till now what we have done, we have created the one IP of the matrix multiplication in the hardware. But for example, when we wanted to do the A into B and output is C, then we pass the A and B to the IP and get the C. Now suppose that I want to perform the two matrix multiplication in simultaneously. I want to perform A into B is equal to C and D into E is equal to F. So I have all the data available, and I want to perform two matrix multiplication in simultaneously. In the processor, I have to do the sequential operation. So I have to do this first and then second. In the FPGA, I have two options. First, I do this one, and then I use the same IP to do this one. So that is also sequential. Okay, or I can use two IP in the hardware. I use the IP1 here for this one, I use the IP2 here this one, and both work in parallel. So you can see that with the third operation, third task, third approach, I'll get the best performance in terms of the execution time, but I'll use more resources because I'm implementing the two IPs in parallel. In the second approach, I'll get the slightly poorer performance compared to third one because I'm using only one hardware IP. So my execution time will be higher compared to the third approach. Okay. So how to do that in the SDSUC? So you will need to use the SDS resource pragmas, which we have discussed in our previous uh, previous video. So here you can see that what I am doing here in the main.cpp, I'm defining my all the inputs A, B, C, D. Okay, here are 4 inputs are there, and then I have the 2 outputs from the software. One is the AB multiplication, one is the CD multiplication. Then I want to compare the execution time when I implement the one IP in the hardware and when I implement the two IP in the hardware. So what I did, I have the two implementation of the hardware. In one case, you can see the actual out one AB and actual out one CD. Here I will be using only one IP. And in the second case, I'll be using the two IPs uh, in the hardware. Okay, so that is what I will be testing. So this is, I have written the toast so that we can calculate the execution time. The rest of the process is almost similar. And then in the matrix multiplication, you can see that I'm doing the 3 calls for the matrix multiplication. In the first call, it's a software call. So I do the first, I pass the A and B, then I get the golden out AB. Then I pass C and D, I get the golden out CD. Okay, that's the first call. Then I consider the second approach where I implemented only one hardware IP. So what I do, I first call the hardware function A and pass the value A and B, and I get the actual out one AB. Then I call the same function again, I pass the C and D, and I get the actual out one C and D. So here I'm calling the hardware, same hardware IP 2 times. And in the third one, you can see that I'm using the SDS resource pragma. And what I'm doing in the SDS resource pragma, I'm using the one IP to one hardware to perform the AB multiplication and the second hardware to perform the CD multiplication. So both of them will execute in parallel. And you can see that I'll get the better performance in the third one. Okay, rest of the main.cpp you don't need to change other than the init function. Here you need to make sure that you initialize the A, B, C, D because all the 4 are your input with some integer values. Okay, rest of the code remains the same. No change in the .h file, no change in the .cpp file. And now if you look at the Vivado block diagram, you can see that I have the 3 IPs available. You can see that for approach 1, I'm not implementing in the hardware, so there is no IP. For the approach 2, I'm implementing the 2 matrix multiplication using the same IP. So you can see that this is the approach 1. And for approach 3, I'm implementing the 2 matrix multiplication using the 2 IP. And you can see that the corresponding 2 IP. So approach 3 will lead to the more resource utilization, but better execution time. Okay. So this is the way you can create the multiple IPs to perform the same task, and you can do the further parallelization. First time we did the parallelization inside the matrix multiplication, then we are doing the parallelization outside the matrix multiplication using the multiple IPs of the matrix multiplication, and which will need the further higher resources, but you can get the significant improvement in the acceleration time. If you want to know what is the acceleration time of this IPs or this 3 of the units, you should check my next video on the when I test these IPs on the hardware. Okay, so this is the third phase of our lab 4 where we implemented the multiple hardware instance. Now the last one is the understanding the data motion network. What is the data motion network? So how the data is moved between the PS and PL, and we discussed the 2 pragmas, SDS copy and SDS zero copy. And we know that we have not used any pragma. That means by default it is the SDS copy, and in the SDS copy you can see that there will be a DMA will be incorporated for the A, B and the actual output. I don't need to worry about all these numbers, we'll discuss it later, but what you need to understand is that when you have the data motion network, you will see that there is a DMA has been incorporated. And what we want to do is that we just want to add this pragmas in your .h file where I'm saying that SDS data zero copy. That means your IP is going to copy the data from the memory, and you will see that there is no DMA is incorporated, and you will see that the AXI memory map has been given. What is the AXI memory map? We have already studied that by using the read transaction here and here, you will read the data in AFB, and you by using the write transaction, you write the data, and your addresses are also given from where you want to read and write operation. Okay, so by using this data copy pragma, you can change the hardware as you want. Okay, so these are the four things we need to do in this lab. First, we need to do the integer implementation of the part 3 of the lab 3. Second, we need to do the fixed point integer of the part 1 of the lab 4. Then we need to do the multiple hardware instances of the part 2 of the lab 4. And then the last, we need to add the pragmas, which is the STS and zero copy pragma, and see how the data motion network has been modified. Okay, and then you can compare as a homework, or you can compare the execution time. So this completes our lab 4, where we have further improved the performance of the matrix multiplication using the fixed point arithmetic.